very familiar with by now, has come to an end. He is at last a Grand Prix race winner again. And instantly, Simon, one weekend on, the question turns to, can he do it again this weekend?
Well, I've just ridden on track, and that's why I missed the intro again for the podcast with a friend of mine, Hervé Poncharal. And the grip level is amazing. It's like from one extreme to the other. Absolutely magic. Riding the same bike, it wanted to stop, it wanted to turn, it wanted to go. And it must be one of the highest grip level circuits we go to on the calendar. Amazing. Doesn't even damage tyres either. It's really fair on them. You know, sometimes when you have really high grip, you get a bit of tearing. But not at all. Look, the tyres look great afterward. So I think it's going to come down more to those GP24s again, would be my guess, you know, going into the weekend.
And of course, if you weren't joining us for the Aragon Grand Prix last weekend, Marc Marquez able to take full advantage of the quite rare, the quite freak track conditions that we had throughout the course of the weekend. That's not to sort of speak against his performance, what he was able to do. I'm sure if grip levels were as good as they are there, given just how strong he is around that place, he would have been competitive, but
yes,
wouldn't have
it would have been a fight.
He wouldn't have been on pole position by 0.8 of a second, which, by the way, was the biggest dry race or dry session advantage in a qualifying session for close to 15 years. So.
He was amazing. Like at Austria, I said he was exceptional because he was, you know, he mucked up that start, but how he rode in Austria was, I was like, wow, he's here. This one, he was untouchable, and I think a big part of that, obviously he's really comfy with the bike, but what he could do with those dodgy conditions, you know, like he's famous for, holding the front up, and when everyone else was having a horrible feeling on the bike, he felt good all weekend and just dominated, as everyone saw. So leap a week forward, here it's not going to be the same. I think it's going to be really close again, but like I said, he was exceptional in Austria. I think they've found a base setting that he's happy with, and he'll be happy with it here as well. So I fully expect him to be fighting for the podium for the rest of the season, I believe.
He said afterwards, he said in that behind-the-scenes video we just saw there, that he feels 2 kilos lighter. Although he never said to the media, never wanted to let on that he was thinking about, it was bothering him, the fact that this weight was going way beyond 1,000 days since he'd last stood on top of a Premier Class podium. In fact, it's the longest wait in his Grand Prix career, full stop, between victories. Surely it will have been playing on his mind. And now the fact that he's got that win, will he walk into here with just the chest puffed out a little bit more? Will it give him, the old adage is, when you get that victory, whether it be the first one or one after a long wait, it's an injection in the arm of 1/4 of a second. Are we going to see that from Marc with that new increased level of confidence?
I mean, it'd be like a milestone. Now he's won again, you know, because that was obviously a big goal for quite a while. But all of the successful riders, I believe, treat every race the same, meaning they know, don't get cocky, do your homework, do everything, as always, as best you can, which adds up to the result. And like he always says, you need a perfect weekend from Friday to be able to win. That's what he'd be aiming at. This whole thing's been about Marc so far. There's a lot of other riders I hope we can cover going into this one.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll get the opportunity to do so.
I'm just feeling guilty, that's all.
Yeah, no, I get that, but obviously Marc is the huge story coming into the weekend. He is, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to phrase it, he's the biggest star in the paddock at the moment. He's the one that sells the tickets, but one of the major talking points coming out of last weekend was the incident between Pecco Bagnaia and Alex Marquez. Since you were last with us, confirmation came through from the FIM stewards that it was deemed a racing incident, no penalty going either way. Having had the opportunity 4 or 5 days on from that first initial reaction, this is the contact between the pair of them with 6 laps remaining whilst fighting for 3rd place in that final podium place. What do you make of it, Simon? Do you see it slightly
Still
different?
horrible every time, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Good to report as well that both Pecco and Alex, despite a few bruises, despite, I'm sure, feeling pretty
This
sore
is the one I
following
wanted to
day,
see, the
are
helicopter.
okay. So coming on 5 days later, do you view it slightly differently than what you did on Sunday night?
Not much. To be honest, not much. I know that circuit well. I've done a lot of laps around there, and I know that when you run wide on turn 12, your turn 13 is very damaged. You know how the speed you can carry through. You're never going to please everyone, and none of us have the same access to cameras as race direction. So I do trust that they've watched everyone. They spend a long time analysing. So I have to respect what they have decided because they do have more info than us. But my gut feeling is still the majority of the blame is with Alex. That is my take, without seeing all of the cameras that race direction have.
Is it fair to ask questions of Pecco Bagnaia, though? This isn't the first time and he's been involved in an incident like this. We saw it with Maverick Viñales in Le Mans last year, with Marc Marquez at the start of the year. Could he have been more patient in that situation, especially given what he's playing for this year?
I bet he wishes he was. Totally agree. That's also why I said majority and not all blame. Because Bastianini pulled the move off safely, during the race, on two riders. But yeah, I've already answered how I feel, and until I get more, if there's information I don't know, I'm not going to change my mind. Majority, I would say 70-30 on Alex's side. That's what I would say, blame-wise.
In terms of the World Championship picture, it's minimum, you would say, 16 points, or definitely 16 points that Bagnaia has lost there, giving 23 of advantage now to Jorge Martin. We speak glowingly about Pecco over the past 3 years, given what he's been able to achieve, some of the victories he's had. But if you were to look at one potential flaw that maybe does need work on, could you say it's in these situations where, rather than acting immediately, in this one in particular, as we said, potentially an opportunity for him to have a little bit more patience and bide his time, given that there were 6 laps remaining, and just how quickly he was able to catch up with Alex? Yeah,
he caught Alex 2.5 seconds in a few laps, and you're right. If he'd let Alex go, Alex had a horrible angle of approach, so would have had to go slow through the turn. If he didn't, would have ran wide, and Pecco could have passed him on the inside of the approach for the next right-hander. So, yeah, I bet he wishes he did that. But, yeah, in hindsight, it's easy to say that, So yeah, or give more room. The argument there was there isn't much room of good line, at Aragon, of good grippy line. So, yeah, I bet he does wish that he'd been more careful.
You mentioned that Enea Bastianini move in the sprint. We do have that move in particular, which I think is interesting to look at here, to see what was done differently, not only by the rider on the inside, but on the outside as well, of how it could have been avoided.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed is, watch Quartararo really wider, and how well Quartararo sticks to the paint in the middle in the apex. Really good, because he knew that. He managed to stay in that strip, So I think Fabio did a great job as well.
Yep.
Of sticking to the paint on the inside, and Enea with 2 bikes there, and not ahead of them, because to me, Pecco, if we see it again, he was slightly ahead when we threw it in. So I think Enea did a great job.
Is it important to point out with Bastianini, just look at his rear tyre mark there, you can see that he's outside of the usual line.
Yeah.
So he offers just a little bit more space potentially than what Bagnaia does, which is why we're looking at it 70-30.
But he's further behind Fabio, so he has to,
Yeah.
Where I think Pecco believed he had the line, because he did. He was on the perfect line to pull that off, where he would have thought Alex is... I've got him snookered, and Alex didn't back off and give way. So on the shittier line, excuse my language, but that's why I think of it as it is. Nobody's going to agree with this one. It's one of those ones where you probably got to admit that the stewards got it right, just saying racing incident, because there was blame on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's why there's so much argument about it. I'm so glad I'm not on social media.
Yeah, it's throughout social media, everyone has got an opinion on the matter, which is why we wanted to discuss it further. It'll be interesting to see Pecco Bagnaia coming up in this first press conference, whether his opinion has changed of it, because on Sunday night he was very strong, pointing the finger at Alex Marquez, intimating the fact that he thought that Alex purposefully caused that contact. Now, I don't think either of us
Believe that.
No.
I mean, there has been a bunch of cases recently, which saddens me to say, that riders have opened the throttle once making contact. And if that's what he's meaning, I would go along with that as getting more and more common, sadly, because the outside rider loses then when gets nerfed off, with the throttle on. But to say he made the contact on purpose, you wouldn't agree. I don't think any rider wants to make contact on purpose.
No, absolutely, especially when fighting for a Grand Prix podium. As a result of all of that, Jorge Martin now comes into a venue where he was able to do the hat-trick last year, pole position, sprint win and Grand Prix victory. 23 points clear in the World Championship, which in this back and forth season so far, where we've seen guys having 5-point leads, 3 points behind, is a massive advantage.
Yes.
How will that change things, do you feel, coming into this weekend, where we know Bagnaia on home turf, a place that he's done thousands of laps around, is going to be incredibly strong?
Am I remembering correctly that Pecco was injured knee last year?
Yes, came here off the back of that massive moment in Barcelona.
Wasn't sure if it was this last year or the year before. So my take is on it, Pecco has the upper hand here if he's not injured. Mm-hmm. He's amazing around this circuit. It's home, it's his backyard, lives up the road, and he wins all those World Ducati Week races. Yeah. All of the others go, wow, Pecco's it on another level. And so my gut feeling is that if Pecco doesn't have any lingering problems from that crash, he will be the man to beat, even over Jorge. And that's my gut feeling. Jorge knows he needs to stay on the bike because he can't give away that 20 points. And Pecco knows he needs to make them up. And I think this is the place to do it.
And it does come, I think, as a surprise to see Martin 23 points clear in the World Championship, when I don't think we can say we've seen him at his absolute best that we've seen over the past 18 months when he's dominated a weekend. It's been quite some time, which just proves the step he has taken this year to just be there digging in every weekend, and so far that is paying off.
I totally agree. I was nervous. I couldn't help but be nervous for Jorge here at Aragon when Mark was riding away from him, and Jorge has that fight, it's like an instinct. He does not like to give up, and I thought here is a perfect chance for Jorge to throw it down the road again, and he didn't. So I have to say respect, he's learning, and we're going to get to one of those tracks soon. I don't believe it's here. It could be. I don't believe it's here. I believe it will be coming up soon.
Indonesia,
exactly. The Asian races rounds where he's going to dominate. He's going to do one. It'll be his turn. But I think Jorge's doing a great job of getting those seconds and not falling off. Touch wood.
And so far it is paying off. 23 points coming into this weekend, and then we come here for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in a fortnight's time as well. The strange thing is Pecco Bagnaia can win all 4 of those races over the next fortnight. And if Martin finishes second, he still holds a World Championship lead as we pack our bags and go to Asia. That is just how important those 23 points are at this stage of the season. We can't forget Enea Bastianini, who of course has had victory around this place before, picked up his first Grand Prix podium as well. You feel as though he's going to be a big player this weekend? I
really do. I think I don't think he would disagree with me too hard or swear at me for saying so far it's been disappointing,
Especially post-Silverstone, where we thought, OK, he's found that level and he can kick on from
Silverstone. So, of course, Silverstone was the Enea I expected more often. And I believe we're going to see that Enea here again this weekend. He's been amazing around here in the past, even on a very customer bike, you know, a couple of years old on the Avintia, he still was amazing. So on the latest spec machine, I expect Anea to be fighting for the win. If he's not, again, I'll be disappointed.
Whilst we get the chance, he's coming up in the second press conference in around half an hour to 45 minutes time. But finally, confirmation today, one half at least, of the Prima Pramac Yamaha garage for 2025. That being Portugal's Miguel Oliveira, a very experienced man. Multiple Grand Prix victories to his name. We've touched on it before, but now it's been confirmed. Do you see that as a positive signing for Yamaha and the right man to try and get them on track and at least trending in the right direction?
Yeah, when you're in trouble, like the Japanese manufacturers are, you need an intelligent, experienced man like this to help find the direction. I really do. Again, his last 2 years have been disappointing.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, it's been 18 months really, you know, for a lot of it, especially in the beginning, not his doing, you know, which was super sad. But it has put Miguel on the back foot, you know, and he's slowly working forward, but he hasn't got to the where, okay, we saw him in the sprint in Germany. That was the Miguel we know. Miguel Oliveira is one of the best riders in the paddock. I just hope he gets back to that form because he's fantastic. I love listening to his debriefs. He's clever, witty, and winning is he can. You know, he was incredible. So fingers crossed that old confidence. You know, Miguel, unreal rider, is back in the future.
It's a funny old thing, confidence. If you could bottle it and sell it, we'd be millionaires, wouldn't we, Simon? It is so often desired by motorcycle Grand Prix riders, so let's hope that Miguel can find that touch going into 2025. And talking 2025, what a big Monday coming up as well. Test here. Looks as though weather not too great, which some teams won't be too particularly happy by, but we're going to get an indication of just how good, just what kind of a path the likes in particular Honda and Yamaha are on, and what the likes of Ducati, Aprilia, KTM have up their sleeve for 2025 as well. It's going to be an interesting one.
If there's any rain this weekend, I thought that could play into Mark's hands as well.
Yeah.
You know, really high grip level. I expect it to be the GP24s, so having the slight edge, Mark fighting for the podium. But if it rains, that'll, I believe, change around and it'll play into Mark's hands.
Right, let's hand over then to this first press conference. As you can see, the 2025 teammates of Bagnaia and Marquez already chatting away. Soon we'll have Anea Bastianini and Jorge Martin joining us for this, the official kickoff of the San Marino Grand Prix.